Folks, Randy here with Dolan Cut and Trim. So I just want to talk to you guys through something that I'm currently learning how to do, and I don't know, wanted to process it with you. Hopefully it'll be helpful to you. And that is letting customers go. That's something I struggle with a lot, because once I got a customer, I don't want to let him go. Part of it is probably a certain amount of a famine mindset that I'm unable to shake. Because panic is, in the beginning of the season when all the bad customers show up, and at the end of the season when they rear their ugly heads again. I get a little bit of a famine mentality where it's like, I got to get all the business I can, because at some point I'm not going to have it. Like in 6 weeks, I'm not really going to be mowing anymore. And so I get like, so I end up holding on to customers even though I know it's a bad fit, and I just either deal with it or wait for them to drop me. There's an example that really sticks out in my mind where I bid a property at $35. This was back when I was doing bi-weeklies for $35. And I show up to the property, and the first thing is this is before I had the Time Master too, so I was using a 21-inch. And I got there and realized I wouldn't be able to use my big mower on the property because the fence was too small. So it's like, that's kind of a bummer. And they had a normal sized property for my area. But the other issue was that they didn't have a, what's the word I'm looking for? No, it's not that they didn't have, it's that what they did have. They had lawn ornaments everywhere. I mean, we're talking flamingos, lighthouses, all kinds of Baltimore Ravens memorabilia, including Baltimore Ravens painted themed plows, 2 of them. Just like random weird stuff all over the place. And so, I would service their property, and they complained every time I came out. They were like, you didn't move the ornaments. I was like, well, a bunch of these things look like they'll fall apart if I touch them. I can't move them, And, they complained, and then it was a bi-weekly that should have been a weekly. So every time I came out, it's 2 feet tall, and I'm mowing it with a push mower, And so it was just constant problems, and I was like, I really need to drop this customer. But I didn't want to lose out on the money, so I just kept doing it, and eventually they, after just lots of anger and lots of frustration, mostly on their part, but still, they finally were like, what, forget it, and they dropped me, and it was like, I could have saved us both so many headaches if I would have just dropped them from the beginning. None of that was necessary. And I've had that happen a couple of times, and I've just always ended up regretting the fact that I did not drop them myself. Well, after 4 years, I've dropped a customer for the first time because I didn't feel like it was working out. I guess after 5 years, if you count my time as a part-timer. Basically, what happened was I'd actually been servicing this guy for a couple of years, and the first year and a half that I worked with him, things were going fine. Didn't really have any complaints. I didn't particularly enjoy mowing his property, but because it was kind of a weird layout. But it was fine. But then we started having issues where his card would get declined. This was before I charged cards, ahead of time, or once I got there, I would charge after. And he would just take his time, paying it. Like, it could be 2 or 3 weeks before he would get around to updating the card he had on file. And by the time its property's overgrown, and it's just a pain in the butt. And so that was going on. And then last year he had an issue where his card information kept getting stolen. I'm just going I think when that happens multiple times, in my opinion, you're going to websites you probably should stay away from. But the card kept getting declined, and so we were having that same issue. Well, this year I was like, I'm not playing this game with this guy. I don't like doing work for free or just getting paid whenever you feel like getting paid. So I changed the terms of service to we charge at the time. So that way for folks like him, I could just charge the card once I got there, and if it got declined, move on. So I did that, and same thing. I think his card got compromised like 4 times this year. And the last time, it took him, I think, 4 weeks, before he finally wanted to update the card. And, by that point, the place was overgrown and it was a mess. And he wasn't particularly polite. And so what I ended up doing was I showed up to his property. He still hadn't updated his card. I drove by it. I knew he hadn't updated his card, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with this guy. This is just ridiculous. So I sent him an email saying, hey, effective immediately, we're canceling your service. I think you would benefit from a company that bills monthly, and we can't accommodate that. So I think you should find somebody else. However, in the meantime, I am going to go ahead and mow your front yard for free. Just so you don't have to deal with any additional fees as a result of your lawn being so long. And also as a thank you for working with us for the last couple of years. And he wasn't happy. He emailed me back saying, hey, you guys should have called me for the card. And it's like, no. I mean, because it wasn't a good fit for us. Like, once a customer is all set up, getting payment from a customer should take about 10 seconds. It should take us about 10 seconds of administrative work. Actually, probably less, but we'll say 10 seconds of administrative work before we've gotten paid. And with him, it was taking exponentially longer. Because we had talked to him on the phone probably 6 times this year, and probably traded 15-20 emails back and forth. And so you add it up, we've processed, I don't know, probably 1,500 or 1,600 payments at this point in the year, and we've probably talked to him alone more than almost every customer we've got. So for the way we structure our business, it didn't make sense to retain him as a customer because he was requiring way more work than the customers we typically service require. And so, we parted ways with him. Felt weird, but felt like it was the right thing to do. And I'm getting that feeling with another customer, but I'm not ready to do that, especially with this time of year. It's September. It's mid-September. We're almost done. So part of me wants to just stick it out, and then, she's one of the customers whose price was going to be getting raised next year, and so part of me thinks just stick it out, raise her price next year. She'll say absolutely not, and we'll be done. Of course, probably by next year, I'll have lost my nerve again, and I'll have that famine mindset again, and we'll be panicking to get everybody I can in the building, so we'll see what happens. That's what happened to me last year. There was a couple of folks I was going to do that to, and it did not work out. So, we'll see. But this is Randy with Doing Cut and Trim. I hope this was helpful to you. I just wanted to kind of process it, talk about it out loud, and see, hopefully you get some benefit from it too. So, have a good one.